Hello, my name is Simon Owens, and today I'm talking about publishers that have entered in revenue share agreements with social media platforms and why they've been incredibly disappointed in the amount of revenue that's coming out of those partnerships. So there used to be this philosophy against what's called digital sharecropping. So there was this idea that you shouldn't farm on another platform's land. You shouldn't put all your content on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or all these other platforms, and most of the effort should be put towards creating content for your own website or URL, and then whatever effort you put on these platforms, it should be to point people to the URL. And the whole idea was that with your own URL, you 100% own that platform. Nobody has any control over you. Nobody can censor your content. You get full monetization on it. So why spend all this energy building all this content on another platform's brand when they could take everything away from you when they had that power? But lately, there's been kind of a paradigm shift, a shift in thinking from publishers who have decided to start trying to make native content on specific platforms, whether it's Snapchat, Facebook, or YouTube. So basically, they've created these so-called deals with the devil, and basically, they do this so they can get wider distribution than they otherwise would from their own website, and also basically they're forming these revenue sharing deals with the platforms themselves. The main model being that whatever advertising is sold against these publishers' content, then they get a cut of it. So this started with the first platform to really kind of dive into this. This was YouTube. They famously have like an ad revenue sharing platform with all their kind of YouTubers who have a certain number of subscribers, not just major publishers. And basically, I think the YouTube creator gets 55% of the revenue, and YouTube gets 45%. And YouTube has also put out, various carrots. Like they famously put out $100 million that they paid directly to publishers to create content on their platform to try to up their game. Started with Facebook, then it went to Facebook Instant Articles. This is where articles that otherwise live on publishers' websites now, at least in the mobile experience, when you click on them through Facebook, they're actually hosted on Facebook itself. And then Facebook sells advertising against that and does a revenue share with the publishers. The big player recently is Apple News. Apple launched its news app on its main home screen. Supposedly, it's getting wide usage. It's driving decent traffic to publishers, and Apple is also sharing revenue. But here's the thing: we've been seeing like a lot of reports recently that while yes, these platforms are allowing the publishers to expand their actual audience size, they're not seeing any meaningful revenue from these revenue shares. YouTube creators have long complained about this. In fact, this is why the platform Patreon was originally created. Was that there was this YouTube musician who had over 1 million views on YouTube for a music video he had created, and he only got like a few $100s for his video, and he got so frustrated that he went and created Patreon. And time after time, we're hearing complaints from YouTube creators who have millions of views and are just not getting any kind of meaningful revenue from that. The music industry, which is finally seeing some growth after years of decline, just issued a report where they were complaining about the revenue share between YouTube and all the various record companies and for their music and videos that are playing on it. Same thing with Facebook Instant Articles. It launched a little over a year ago, and publishers they ramped up their production for Facebook Instant Articles, but lately we've been seeing them pull back, and they're not offering as many articles through Facebook Instant Articles. When they're asked why, they publicly say that it's just not producing the amount of engagement, more importantly, the kind of revenue that they were hoping for. And then a piece just came out today in Digiday regarding Apple News, where publishers have said they've seen virtually no revenue from Apple News. Apple News famously just basically outsourced its ad sales to NBC universal and just publisher after publisher. While yes, they're saying that they are seeing some meaningful traffic increases from it, they're not seeing the kind of requisite rise in revenue, at least on the platform itself. So I guess the question is, after all this, all this time, a couple of years now with this experiment, is were these publishers wrong to make this deal with the devil? And I think now we're seeing the increasing power of platforms like Facebook and Google, and how much of a stranglehold they have over the content industries. I guess the more important question is, have publishers given these platforms even more leverage? They gave so much free content to these platforms that they've cemented these platforms in everybody's lives, and now they can't even reel back, or at least reel in what they're doing for the platforms, because the platforms just have too much power. They have too much mind share. So I think a lot of publishers are starting to think of this, rethink their distributed content strategy, and thinking, what can we need to spend more resources on building on our own platforms rather than for other people's platforms. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out in the next 6 to 12 months. All right, that's all I have to talk about today. Thanks so much.